So hi everyone, today we're going to discuss one of the famous literary works in the world, which is Beowulf. So before we further discuss the story of Beowulf, let's have some background of it so we can understand more the story. The event in the poem takes place over most of 6th century and features no English characters. Some suggest that Beowulf was first composed in 7th century at Rendlesham in East Anglia, as the Southern Whose ship burial shows close connections with Scandinavia and the East Anglian royal dynasty. The Wulfingas may have been descendants of the Geatish Wulfings. Others have associated this poem with the court of King Alfred the Great or with the court of King Snot the Great. Then, the majority view appears to be the people such as King Hrothgar, and the Scyldings in Beowulf are based on historical people from 6th century in Scandinavia, like the Finsword fragment and several shorter surviving poems. Beowulf has consequently been used as a source of information about the Scandinavian figures, such as Idgils, Hygelac, and about continental Germanic figures such as Offa, king of the continental Angles. So as you can see, Beowulf is not just an entertainment for the readers, but rather it became a basis of historical foundation of Scandinavia. In 19th century, archaeological evidence may confirm elements of the Beowulf story, so they are proving that Beowulf is not just hearsay, and they have evidences that prove that it is a real story. So here it is. Idgils was buried at Uppsala. According to the Snorri Sturluson, when the western mound was excavated in 1874, the finds shows that a powerful man was buried in a large barrow, on a bear skin with 2 dogs and rich grave offerings. The eastern mound was excavated in 1854 and contained the remains of a woman, or a woman and a young man. The middle barrow has not been excavated. So that's one of the evidences that Beowulf is a real story, that there's someone buried in that place and they thought that this is Beowulf. But is this really a real story? So now let's have the Scandinavian folklore. So Scandinavian folklore or Nordic folklore is the folklore of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, and the Faroe Islands. It has common roots as and have been mutually influenced by folklore in England, Germany, and Baltic countries, Finland, and Sapmi. The peoples of Scandinavia are heterogeneous, as are the oral genres and material culture that has been common in their lands. However, there are some commonalities across Scandinavian folkloric tradition. Among them, common ground in elements from Norse mythology as well as Christian conceptions of the world. Among the many tales common in Scandinavian oral traditions, some have become known beyond Scandinavian borders. It is not just enclosed in Scandinavia. And the examples are the 3 billy goats Gruff and the giant who had no heart in his body. And then, there are a large number of different mythological creatures from the Scandinavian folklore. Like in our country, Philippines, we have several mythological creatures like Tiyanak, Manananggal, Tikbalang, and so on and so forth. And in Scandinavia, the mythological creatures become well known in other parts of the world. mainly through popular culture and fantasy genres. And some of these are trolls, huldra, nightmare or nightmare, noken, naken, or stromkarlen. So trolls. So trolls is actually already have a movie in our times. It's a children movie, and that character is based on the Scandinavian folklore. So what are these? What is trolls really? What is the characteristics of trolls? So trolls are described in many ways in Scandinavian folk literature, but they are often portrayed as stupid and slow to act. In fairy tales and legends about trolls, the plot is often that humans with courage and presence of mind can outwit the troll. Next is Huldra, a dangerous seductress who lives in the forest. The Huldra is said to lure men with her charm. She has a long cow's tail that she ties under her skirt in order to hide it from men. If she can manage to get married in church, her tail falls off and she becomes human. I remember one of the Korean dramas that I watched, and it is entitled My Girlfriend is a Gumiho, and you can compare it to the whole drama because the story of My Girlfriend is a Gumiho is actually a Gumiho wanted to be human. So his boyfriend, which is a man, tries to what do you call this one? Tries to get the bead of that Gumiho, and then the human characteristic of the boyfriend gets in the bed, and once the bead already got his human figure, the bead will be passed on the girlfriend or the Gumiho. And then after a while, when the bead is not with the Gumiho, her tail falls off. And in differences, in Huldra, she should marry a man first in the church so that her tails will be gone. So the next is Natmara or Nightmare. Appears as a skinny young woman like me, dressed in a nightgown with a pale skin, long black hair, and nails. As sand, they could slip through the slightest crack in the wood of a wall and terrorize sleeping by riding on their chests, thus giving them nightmares. That's why they are called nightmares also. The next is the Naken or Stromkarlen. It is a dangerous freshwater dwelling being. It plays a violin to lure his victims out on the thin ice or leaky boats and then draws them back down to the bottom of the water where he is waiting for them. So those are some of the mythological creatures in Scandinavian folklore. So it's not just that we can they also have other creatures, but we just discussed the some of them and the major creatures. So we're done with Scandinavian folklore. Let's now have understanding in Norse mythology, wherein the story, wherein the gods or the goddesses or the mythology is based on this. So Norse mythology, it is upheld during and around the time of Vikings, and it has a complete creation myth that has the first god slaying a giant and turning his body parts into the world. Various realms spread out beneath the world tree Yggdrasil, and the eventual destruction of the known world in the Ragnarok. The Nordic mythological world is both complex and comprehensive. If you will compare it to the other traditions or stories like the Christian views or in Greek mythology, the first existence is gods. And like in Christianity, the God created everything in just 6 days, so it's just God himself who made it. And then on a Greek mythology, there are only two gods who is living in the world, which is the Mother Earth and the sky. And then they have sons, Titans, and the Titans have also children, which is the Greek gods, and then the war happened between Cronus and his sons, and it's all been reigned by gods when people are not there. So it's like in the Norse mythology, the gods only exist in the beginnings, and then it happens. It's also a polytheistic pantheon headed by one-eyed Odin, contains a great number of different gods and goddesses like Greek mythology, who were venerated and custom integrated into the ancient Scandinavians' daily lives. And then, the Norse religion that contained these myths never had a true name. Unlike those who practice Christianity, they are called Christian. Those who practice Buddhism, they are called Buddhists. So those who practice Norse mythology called it tradition. However, people who continued to follow the old ways after the arrival of Christianity were sometimes called heathens, which originally means simply people who live on the heaths or elsewhere in the countryside, and the name has stuck. The source texts mention numerous gods, such as the hammer-wielding, humanity-protecting thunder god Thor, which majority of the people know that Thor is a hero in Avengers and of the Marvel movie, but actually Thor came from the Norse mythology, and he's a god. And he relentlessly fight his foes. The next god is the one-eyed, raven-flanked god Odin, who craftily pursues knowledge throughout the world and bestowed among the humanity the runic alphabet. And then, the beautiful silver-working feathered cloak-clad goddess Freya, who rides to battle to choose among the slain. Then, the vengeful skiing goddess Kol, who prefers the wolf howls of the winter mountains to the seashore. The powerful god Njord, who may calm both seas and fire and grant wealth and land. Then the next god is Freyr, whose weather and farming association bring peace and pleasure to humanity. Next is the goddess Idun, who keeps apples that grant eternal youthfulness. Then the mysterious god Heimdall, who is born of 9 mothers. Then he can hear grass grow, has gold teeth, and possesses a resounding horn. Then the god Loki, who brings tragedy to the gods by engineering the death of the goddess Freyg's beautiful son Balder, and numerous other deities. So those are some of the major gods of Norse mythology. So what's more regarding Norse mythology? The cosmos in Norse mythology consists of 9 worlds that flank a central tree called Yggdrasil. Units of time and elements of the cosmology are personified as deities or beings. Various forms of creation myth are recounted, where the world is created from the flesh of the primordial being Ymir. And then, the first 2 humans are As and Embla, and in Christianity that will be Adam and Eve. These worlds are foretold to be reborn after the events of Ragnarok, when an immense battle occurs between the gods and their enemies, and the world is enveloped in flames, only to be reborn anew. There, the surviving gods will meet, and the land will be fertile and green, and 2 humans will repopulate the world. So that's the Norse mythology and Scandinavian folklore. Let us now have the story of Beowulf. But let me introduce to you first the principal characters of the story. So the first person that I will introduce to you is, of course, our protagonist Beowulf. So Beowulf is a Geatish hero who fights the monster Grendel, Grendel's mother, and a fire-breathing dragon. Beowulf boasts and encounters reveal him to be strongest, ablest warrior around. In his youth, he personifies all the best values of the heroic culture. And in his old age, he proves a wise and effective ruler. Then, King Hrothgar. This king is the king of Danes. Hrothgar enjoys the military success and prosperity until Grendel terrorizes his realm. A wise, aged ruler, Hrothgar represents a different kind of leadership from the exhibited by the youthful warrior Beowulf. He is a father figure to Beowulf and a model for the kind of king that Beowulf becomes. Grendel, a demon descended from Cain. Grendel preys on Hrothgar's warrior in the king of Midhall, Heorot, because his ruthless and miserable existence is part of the retribution exacted by God for Cain's murder of Abel. Grendel fits solidly within the ethos of vengeance that governs the world of the poem. Next is Grendel's mother. An unnamed swamp hag, Grendel's mother seems to possess fewer human qualities than Grendel. Although her terrorization of Heorot is explained by her desire for vengeance, a human motivation. And the last is the dragon, an ancient powerful serpent. The dragon guards a hoard treasure in a hidden mound. Beowulf's fight with the dragon constitutes the third and final part of the epic. So, let's have the story of Beowulf. So, what happened? So, how did it start? It started from the palace of the king of Danes, which is King Hrothgar, because in their place, they have a huge problem. A monster named Grendel always attacks them every night in 12 years. And then, so Beowulf offered help for King Hrothgar, and when Beowulf arrived in the place, the people mock him because they doesn't know who is Beowulf. And then, what happened when Grendel entered the place? He opened the door, and then Grendel and Beowulf fight. So what happened? Beowulf is very strong that Grendel wanted to escape in that place. And so what he did, because of the strength that Beowulf has, is Grendel chopped his arm and then he go back to his place. So after that, Beowulf won against Grendel, and they have celebration regarding that happenings, because at last, in 12 years, the monster already doesn't or will not give problem to the people. You will have already peace in their place. So after that, that's the first monster that Beowulf encountered in the story. So after that, the people of Thane celebrated the victory of Beowulf. But when the evening comes, Grendel's mother go to their place and seek vengeance for his son. So the place is become wild because of the outrage that Grendel's mother did. So the next day, Beowulf knew what happened in the place. So he go to the place of Grendel's mother in the lake, in the cave under the lake, and then he fights Grendel's mother. And while they're fighting, actually, Beowulf's almost gonna die. But Beowulf saw an ancient sword in the cave, and he used it to kill Grendel's mother. So Grendel's mother died, and then Beowulf saw the corpse of Grendel, and he beheaded it. And then the head of the corpse, he bring the head of the corpse in Hrothgar, and Hrothgar gave reward to Beowulf because of what he did. So that's the first part of the story, or the epic of Beowulf. The second part passes rapidly over King Hygelac's subsequent death in battle, the death of his son, and Beowulf's succession to the kingship and his peaceful rule of 50 years. So after 50 years of peace in the land of Beowulf, a dragon suddenly appeared. And this is not just an ordinary dragon, but rather it is a fire-breathing dragon. So why does this dragon appear? Because one day, a thief steals a jeweled cup from a sleeping dragon, and the dragon avenges his loss by flying through the night, burning down the houses, including Beowulf's own hall and throne. Beowulf goes to the cave where the dragon lives, vowing to destroy it in single-handed. He is an old man now, however, and his strength is not as great as it was when he fought against Grendel. During the battle, Beowulf breaks his sword against the dragon's side, and the dragon, enraged, engulfs Beowulf in flames, wounding him back in neck. Because of the strength of the dragon, the followers of Beowulf in the cave, and the only follower that left in that cave is Wiglaf. So Wiglaf and Beowulf still fighting against the dragon. Then Wiglaf stabs the dragon with his sword, and Beowulf, in a final act of courage, cuts the dragon in half with his knife. Then after that, Beowulf is wounded mortally, and then he is going to die. But he asks Wiglaf to take him to the dragon's storehouse of treasures, jewels, and gold, which brings him some comfort and make him feel that the effort has perhaps been worthwhile. He instructs Wiglaf to build a tomb to be known as Beowulf's Tower on the edge of the sea there. And then Beowulf died. So after Beowulf dies, Wiglaf admonishes the troops who deserted their leader while he was fighting against the dragon, telling them that they have been untrue to the standards of bravery, courage, and loyalty that Beowulf has taught. Wiglaf sends a messenger to a nearby encampment of Geat soldiers with instruction to report the outcome of the battle. The messenger predicts that the enemies of Geats will feel free to attack them now that their great king is dead. Wiglaf supervises the building of Beowulf's funeral pyre. In keeping with Beowulf's instruction, the dragon's treasure is buried alongside his ashes in the tomb, and the poem ends as it began, with the funeral of a great warrior. And that's the ending of the story of Beowulf. So I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and I hope you understand what happened there and analyze the culture of the Scandinavian. So that's all. Thank you for watching.